Okay, class, we are going to finish up our notes on decimals. So we've already done the addition and subtraction, and we've kind of covered that. So now we're going to move to multiplication and division. So what you can do is now some of the steps in here might be kind of confusing as you write them down, but we'll kind of talk about them, and then once we put them into an example, it'll make a lot more sense. So go ahead and pause, get the steps written down, and then I'll do an example with y'all. Okay, so for multiplication, you can do yours down here. I just want to be able to write big enough, so I'm going to do mine off to the side. But let's do the example. So this is our multiplication example, and let's do, I had it. Oh, here. Okay. So if you had something like this, 1.430 times 0.55, okay? The first thing is, these zeros at the end, we could add zeros onto the end of these all day. But that it's not going to change anything. So if you ever have a zero like this, you can cross it off. We can just do 1.43. It's the same as just adding those zeros. These don't change the number at all, okay? So according to our steps, it says the number with the most digits goes on top. So that's going to be my 1.43 multiplied by 0.55. Okay. Now the decimals don't have to line up, and in this case they did. So we just got, it just was a coincidence, but they do not have to line up like when you add or subtract. Okay. And then we just multiply like normal. Okay, so 3 and 5 gives me 15. 4 times 5 is 20 plus my 1. And 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, I teach you to, well, put your 0, and then I just say cross that off, and then cross off those little numbers that you've carried. That way you're not tempted to accidentally use them again. Okay, and then 3 and 5 gives you 15. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 1 gives you 21. And then 1 and 5 gives you 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay? Then we add these up. 5, 6, 8, 7. Okay? Now figuring out where the decimals go. The decimal goes is the biggest thing. Okay? But we make it pretty easy. Like I said here, you count how many numbers are after the decimal in both the top and bottom. So what that means is, and I'm going to use a different color. Okay. So after the decimal, there's 1, 2 numbers there. Okay, and I make you write it off to the side. And then here's our decimal, and there's 1, 2 numbers there. So total, in my answer, my product, there needs to be 4 numbers, 2 and 2, 4 numbers after the decimal. Okay, so then when I come down to my product, or my answer, I count out 1, 2, 3, 4, and place my decimal. Okay, and that way after my decimal there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So the answer is 0.7865. Okay, and in a minute we'll do another one to practice that. There's not always going to be just 2. Sometimes this one will be 2 and this one will be 3, so there would be 5, whatever, but you just count them up and that's how many total in your answer. Okay. And then for our division example, the first thing that I want you to write down is, because I use the words divisor, dividend, and quotient, and I want to make sure you know what each of those are. You just might not know them by their technical term. So if I was doing 8 divided by 2, okay, I would say 8 divided by 2. 2 can go into 8 4 times, so that's my answer. Okay, this right here is your dividend, and I want you to write this down if you have room on where your decimals are off to the side. So the number in the house, I guess, is your dividend. This number out here outside the house, this is your divisor. And go ahead and put can not have a decimal. Okay, there cannot be a decimal outside the house. Your divisor, whatever number is out here, cannot have a decimal. And then up here, this number, your answer, that is the quotient. Okay, so have that so when you're reading those steps and you're like, the divisor, what, you know exactly where that is. Okay? So, still have room over here. Okay, so the example for this one is, I keep losing my examples. Okay, 2.85 divided by 0.4. Okay, so this guy in 2.85 divided by 0.4. Really, you don't have to write that 0 beforehand. You can if you want, but you do not have to, okay? It's not really doing anything for us. Okay, so this is where you can't have your decimal. So you have to move it to make it a full number. So in this case, we only have to move it one spot to make it a 4. Right now it's a 0.4. If we move that decimal one spot to the right, we would make it 4. Okay, so whatever you do out here, you have to do in here. So I'm going to take my decimal here and move it one spot to the right and place it. Okay, you can have a decimal in here. It's not moving it there and moving it there. It's you move it here to make this a full or a whole number, and however many times you moved it here is how many times you move it there. So this has become 4 out there, and this is a 28.5. Okay, again, you can have a decimal inside your house. And I know this is, or according to your notes, so we've moved the divisor decimal so it's a whole number. We did that. Move the same amount of places in the dividend. We did that. Place the decimal in the quotient, so the answer straight above the decimal in the dividend. So basically, right away, put that decimal point straight up, okay? Because, and I know from experience, even if you have nice handwriting, when you're dividing, especially with the decimal, things can just get messy, and then it's harder to figure out where the decimal goes in the end. Okay, so it's important to just put it straight up right away. Okay, 4 can't go into 2, so I can just put a 0 there. 4 goes into 28 exactly 7 times, so and 4 times 7 gives me 28. My remainder is 0. However, since I still have this 5, I drop that down. Really, I have a 5 left. Okay, so 4 can go into 5 one time, giving me 4 with a remainder of 1. So I add a 0 and drop it down. 4 can go into 10 twice. That gives me 8 with the remainder of 2. And then add another 0 and drop it down. And 4 can go into 20 exactly 5 times. So when I finally get a remainder of 0, that's when I'm done. There's nothing else out here. My remainder 0. So this right here is my answer. And again, just like we didn't need that first 0, I don't have to write 0.7. I can just write 7.125. Okay, so that would be the quotient or the answer to this division problem. Okay, so those are your notes. And again, as we talked about in class today, these are not to just write one time to say we learned it and then forget about it. These are to refer back to over and over as we're doing the problems. Okay, I can tell you and I can sit there beside you and say, okay, this is what you do this next. But if you're the one who has to say, okay, first do this, okay, do it, okay, now do this, and then do it, that's how you're going to learn it, and that's how you're going to get good at it. So I challenge you to use these and my examples that I just did to help you do your other problems. Okay? Oh, I forgot one thing I wanted to talk about with this. So you know how on when we're going from a fraction to decimal, okay, right here, and I have this. When we're going from a fraction to a decimal, we kind of talked about, we say top in, bottom out, or the man on the horse analogy. So the man on the horse, well, and the man gets to go inside the house. So if I'm dividing like 1/8, the man who sits on the horse, when you build the house, he gets to go in, and then the horse stays outside. Okay? Okay? Well, we can use that same thing when you've got it written out like this, your division problem. You can still think about the man and the horse, and think about the man, he's pulling his horse. So think about, he's got his like horse, I'm a horrible drawer. I don't even know what this is. Okay, there's my horse with his legs, and I guess that's his. his necklace. Oh goodness, there's his tail. Okay, but the man, he can pull the horse. You can think of it that way. So when you're figuring out who goes in the house, that first number, that's your dividend, that goes inside. And then the number following stays outside. So if you think of the man, he's got his horse, he's kind of leading his horse, then the man goes in the house, the horse stays outside. Okay, just a way to remember it, because sometimes I even get confused when it's written out this way. I'll be like, oh wait, which one goes inside, which one stays out? So that's a nice little way to remember it. Okay, so now I was going to help you with this paper that you got today. So this is due. This is not one that's glued into your notebook. This is just one that you got today and you're going to turn in to me tomorrow. Your addition and subtraction, this should take you 5 minutes tops, okay? Your decimals are already lined up, and so that one should be nice and easy, okay? Now, you're practicing your decimals. I want to do one multiplication and one division with you just so we get to do a couple more together. And then the last 6 basically will be on your own, and that's what's due tomorrow. So this should be super easy. Okay, so let's see here. And it's already set up for you semi. Let's do, I want one that doesn't line up and they all line up, so that's fine. I'll just do this first one with you, okay? And I'm going to do it so I can write it bigger. 7.12 multiplied by 0.23. Again, I can write that 0 there, but I don't really have to. It's kind of unnecessary, okay? So I just multiply like normal, and again, it happened that my decimals lined up, but they do not have to line up. Okay, so 2 times 3 gives me 6, 1 and 3 gives me 3, 7 and 3 gives me 21. Okay, then I put my 0 placeholder, cross that guy out. 2 and 2 gives me 4, 1 and 2 gives me 2, 7 and 2 gives me 14. Okay, so I add these all up, and I've got 6, 7, 3, 6, 1. Here's another time, I showed you in a previous video how to make those columns. Here's another time, especially, you can even see mine aren't perfectly on top of each other when you're multiplying like this. So here's another great time to make those little columns so you don't actually accidentally add the wrong numbers. Okay, so here I go 1, 2, there's 2 numbers after my decimal there. 1, 2, 2 numbers after my decimal there. So total in my answer, I need 4 numbers after the decimal. So I come in here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, and place my decimal right there. The reason we start from the back is because it's the numbers after your decimal. So now that I have my decimal, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers after it. Okay? 1.6376 will be the answer for that one. Okay? And then we can do, let's do this one together, of the division ones. Okay? So I've got 0.25 and 30.0, or really just 30. Okay? So I have to move out here. I cannot have a decimal out here. Okay, that's bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 1 spot, 2 spot to make it a 25. So if I do that there, I have to do it here. So with my decimal, I'm going to say 1 spot, 2 spot. Okay, anytime I've created one of those empty little scoops, I guess, drop a 0 down in there. So really now what I have is 25, and then out here I've got a 3,000. Okay, well, 25 can't go into 3, but it can go into 30 once, giving me 25. The remainder of 5, drop down a 0. 25 can go into 50 exactly twice. 25 times 2 is 50. So I have a remainder. Here's the thing, my answer is not 12. I still have this 0, so it just needs to go up. Okay, anytime you've got those extra zeros, if you've gotten rid of your remainders at a 0, but you have zeros left out here, just write them up above. Okay, we don't waste them, I guess is a way to think of it. So the answer for this one would be 120. I feel like I did that wrong. Give me 1 second. No, I did it right. Okay. Okay, so that one is 120. Okay, so there I've just done 2 of these with you. What was that? 1.6376. And this one was 120. So you've got just 6 left, and then those adding and subtractings up there that are pretty easy. Okay? Just again in the video, and then if your parents, if you want to show your parents so they know what you have due. So in your thing, in your notebook, you have, and mine aren't glued in, but you have this paper that we got a while back, the converting between fractions, decimals, and percents. This is due on Friday when I do your notebook check. So you've had this for a while, like a week and a half, and you have this to help you do it. Okay, this purple foldable, so they should be glued in side by side. And mine I just had to do that with. Okay, and then your next one is, there we go. Okay, your next one was this one, the adding integers, and there's 30 of them. You just needed to pick 15. Any 15 that you wanted to do, you can do. Okay, and that is also due on Friday. You've got, it's right next to your adding and subtracting integers foldable, so you can use this to help you. And then we've got our rules of decimals. This was your decimal. This page next to it was your decimal addition and subtraction. That is another one due Friday. And then you've got the one for fractions. Notice it's glued in right next to your fractions notes, so you can use these to help you. And that's the fractions page. And then the one that we glued in today, this one right here, the integers fractions. Now the top is just more adding and subtracting, so no big deal there. Now down here, I wanted to clear up a couple of things. Let's not do 11 or 12. I'm not sure what she meant with those arrows. And then this one, 14. If you see, there's technically a little negative sign right there, but I don't want to get into that with you right now. So we're just going to make this one -9 multiplied by -12. Okay? And then right here, these 3, let me do one with you. So when you're multiplying 3 numbers together, you can totally do that. You just do it a number at a time. So we would say 3 times -15, okay? A +3 and a -15. So on this little triangle that we drew today, we had a +3, so you cover up the positive, and a -15, cover up a negative, and the symbol left is the sign of your answer. So our answer is going to be negative. Okay, covered up the positive and the negative, so my answer is negative. Okay, so 3 times 15 is 45, and so 3 times -15 would be a -45. So then we go, okay, now we took care of those two. Now we have -45 times 2. Okay, so that's multiplying a negative and a positive. So I'm left with a negative, meaning when I multiply a negative times a positive, I get a negative. So 45 times 2 is 90, and since it was a negative and a positive, that's -90. Okay, so you just have one more like that, where you have the 3 of them together. So you just do one at a time. These ones down here, you can use, they're practicing the decimals, and it's the same rules as before. So like these two, since there's 2 negatives, your answer is going to be positive. Okay, and using our triangle, if we divided a negative and a negative, our answer is a positive. Okay, right there, negative times a negative is positive. Okay, so that one would be positive. This one, same thing, as just if they were integers. We've got a -6.4 divided by a +8. So when they have different signs, our answer is going to be negative. Okay, I'll let you divide those. These are pretty easy. Just read them, and if you have questions, let me know. So those are the 5 pages that are due on Friday, September 11th, when I do your notebook check. Okay, I know that sounds like a lot, but I've assigned them to you over the course of 2 weeks, and you've had time in class every day, and I've reminded you a bunch. If you have extra time, work on those, work on those, work on those. So hopefully you haven't put it all off to the end, and it shouldn't be a big deal. A lot of you are already done. Okay, let me know if you have questions, and I'll see you tomorrow.